Hi, welcome to Tarot Grove. My name's Christine and I am the owner of Tarot Grove, the online indie tarot and oracle deck shop, just launched a few weeks ago. And yeah, I started this YouTube channel just for anybody who is new to the channel as a way of sharing a bit about my own practice, sharing a bit about the decks that I've got in stock in the shop, so that you can all make like the most informed decisions about purchasing the decks. As you can see, it's a little chaotic going on behind me. I've got all of the stock there on the shelves. I've got packages half ready to go, and yeah, just generally having a lot of fun with running the shop, which is lovely. And yeah, I hope that will continue. Today I've got a video that is more about my own personal tarot collection. I've got a stack of decks here, about 16 decks that I just don't use, and I would like to not have them just sort of sitting around in a shelf somewhere, not being used, but either pass them on or figure out some way of integrating them into my practice. I have quite a small collection for somebody who's so into tarot. I think I said in my last video I've had probably about 100 or so decks pass through my hands over the years, but at the moment I've got a working collection somewhere between 10 and 20 decks, and then I have these other 15 or so decks that sit unused. And then of course I've got all of the decks that I haven't used for the shop. So let's crack on and see what's here, and if I can come up with any inspirational ways of using the decks. I would also really love to hear from you all about if you have any inspired ways, if you've got any of these decks, how you use them, or similar decks. There's a big stack of Marseilles here, and I'm feeling very uninspired with Marseilles these days. So yeah, I would really love to hear from you all, and also if you're enjoying the videos, please like and subscribe to the channel, which feels very weird to say. I'm very new to YouTube, but yeah, honestly really does help boost this very budding little emerging channel. Yeah, I would really appreciate it if you feel called to do so. So let's start. Okay, I'm going to begin with a playing card deck. It's Portrait de Paris by Artisan Tarot. They are a wonderful card maker online shop. You can buy them quite easily. I think they're based in the US, so if you're in the UK, shipping can be a little pricey. But I bought this because last year I did Esther Tishman's Mindful Tarot certificate. It's a year-long program, and we started the year with the basics. We were invited to spend some time with playing card decks, looking at shape, distribution, colour, and try and read with playing cards, which, if you're used to very full, elaborate imagery, is quite a challenge. But I was really shocked at how, once you kind of settled into it, actually we didn't really use the court cards. We took out the court cards, and it was literally just looking at the shapes and the colours and the kind of geometry and positioning on the card. I was really shocked at how much you can get from these cards. So if I take here the 9 of spades, we can look at the fact that to me this kind of looks like a bridge between two very separate rows. We can also think about them as arrows pointing downwards. There's something kind of pulling us maybe deeper underground. There's an isolated pip here who's not really fitting in with the other two clean rows of pips. There's so much you can read into this, especially if you have two together. You can think about the transition from the black to the red, from the spades to the diamonds, how you've moved from a kind of quite a crowded image to something that feels, oh, very spacious. Now there's like nothing in the middle here. Like, what's the shift that's happened between these two cards? And like, when you allow yourself to get into that mind frame, it's amazing the kinds of depth you can get from reading just with something as simple as this. As you can see, I chose a deck that doesn't have any numbers on, and that really opened it up for me. I was finding the numbers in the corners of the playing cards quite distracting. Yeah, I think as a playing card deck, absolutely my favourite. Wouldn't want to change it. I never use this, so I think it's not going because it's my only playing card deck. Because it was so pivotal in shifting the way that I read cards, because it was right at the beginning of the program. I was totally inspired by the kind of exercises that Esther was giving us. And I think I just need to crack it out and have a play again. Kind of maybe set myself a little homework, because it does feel more like a training deck rather than something that I would use for if I'm like looking for a reading. I don't think I would pick this up, but it's more like a muscle that I need to train, that then I can use that muscle in all of the other decks that I own. So gonna maybe leave it out on the table and set myself a little task to do with it. Next, we have a huge stack of Marseilles. I'm gonna start with this deck, which I cannot for the life of me remember the name of, Fournier, I think. It was the first Marseille deck I ever bought, also as part of Esther's Mindful Tarot program. I bought it because at the time I was very turned off by Marseille. I found them boring and uninspiring. The colourful backgrounds in this one inspired me a little bit more. I wasn't particularly enamoured with the faces, but it was as good as I could get, given that we were invited to work with Marseille. So, great starter Marseille. I don't use it ever anymore. There are other Marseille decks that I prefer, that I would pick up instead, but I'm having a really hard time getting rid of this one, I think because it's my only like standard Marseille deck. No, that's not true, I have one other. Also because it was the first deck I got, I feel some kind of sentimental attachment. See if I can cover my face so you can see the cards well. But realistically, am I ever going to read with this card deck again? Probably not. So maybe I put it in purgatory. I think it might be on the axe list until a day when I'm feeling brave enough to get rid of it. I can't quite work out why I feel so attached to this. It's also small and neat. I also keep it in a bag that doesn't really fit in, which probably tells you something about how much I value the deck. But yeah, for some reason struggling to get rid of this one. So, Purgatory, over here. See if I can muster the courage to pass it along. Then, I have, this is the other kind of standard Marseille that I own. It is unbelievably beautiful, by like far the most beautiful Marseille deck I've ever had my hands on. It's from an independent artist called Ben Gross. It's called Tarot de Rivieres. You can see my very dodgy attempt at a French accent. I do actually have a Swiss French surname, but I do not speak French. It's number 256 of 600, limited print run. The backs of the cards are gorgeous. I absolutely love the colouring, and what is really special, it's a very chunky Amaret's like on kind of art card, so not one for riffle shuffling. It's also ginormous, but it's hand painted. Maybe I'll do it this way. And has colourful borders. shaky today. Which, as I mentioned, I can find the sort of standard Marseille a little unappealing. This is beautiful, and every single border is different on every single card. The suits do have colours associated with them, so you'll see that like cups are blue, but like the two blues of these two cards are very different. The coins have a kind of red colouring to them. The swords are green? Yeah, green. So it's kind of an unusual colour choice. And then I think the one's yellow, and the mages are this sort of peachy, pinky colour. Now, yeah, I just think everything about this Marseille is completely stunning. As I said, I don't really use Marseille at the moment. I think because I've realised that I find it, ooh, the sun has become very bright. So you probably can't see me or the cards, but anyway, we'll persevere. I think because I find it quite heady. You know, it's one that I like to read, oh, what's his name? Enriquez, in his sort of style, this like storytelling, just looking at the imagery of the cards. I don't really lean too much on numerology, but it feels like an active imagination, which is lovely. And I really enjoyed my time with Marseille. I got kind of obsessed with it for about 6 months last year. But I'm not really in a heady space at the moment. I'm not really in the space of like using my imagination during readings. I tend to come more down into the body, see what I'm feeling, what my intuition is telling me. This feels like creative storytelling, you know, like creative writing in terms of a reading. And I think it's really good to read for other people because you're doing the creative storytelling and then the other person kind of has a reaction to that. So you might tell a story about, you know, a hero who comes across a disastrous event and starts praying for a saviour, but they get, you know, blocked on the way to their resolution. I don't know. This was a very bad example, but point being that I might tell that story to a client, and the client will then say, oh, yeah, that's in my story. I see that. I see myself in that, and they'll have a response to that. But yeah, I just struggle to find it very inspiring for myself at the moment. As I said, was obsessed with it for a while, but I think it was like a kind of intellectual interest. It wasn't something that I felt very drawn to. So this one, although I don't use it because it's so beautiful, I think it's like, you know, the only plain Marseille that I want to keep. And like if I compare it to the Fournier, it's just no competition. Like this one is million miles by a million miles my favorite. So to keep one Marseille, I'm definitely keeping this one. So I'm just going to go with we have one Marseille, one playing card deck. Then I have 3 more Marseilles, but they're very different. So I have got, well actually it's 2 Marseilles and an RWS actually, or a Smithwaite. I have Trionfi della Luna Paradoxical Brown, Trionfi della Luna Paradoxical Blue, and Trionfi della Luna Paradoxical Illustrated Pips. I'll start with Illustrated Pips because this is one I'm confident is going. I don't think I'm gonna get any inspiration for this. I think I'm just gonna axe it. I love Patrick Valenza's artwork. Took me a little while to kind of get brave enough to get this deck. It felt a bit intimidating. Kind of taps into like a yucky part of my belly, you know. There's like all these kind of odd looking creatures, and I think it kind of calls up the odd, ugly creature inside me. And the illustrated pips just feels quite like a Smithwaite clone. I don't really feel ever drawn to using it. I got it because I loved the Marseilles version of the Trionfi della Luna, and so I thought I would love this. It's great, but I don't use it. Oh, when I'm flipping through it, I think it's so good, and it taps into, like, I love my decks to really connect with the different parts of me. That's why I have a collection in the first place. Like, different decks speak to different parts of my personality, different parts of my my emotional world, and this really, you know, I use these decks when I'm feeling maybe some shame, disgust, like there's something uncomfortable to be looked at, like, oh, I don't feel good about this. This is kind of the, you know, it is like the icky part of me, and when I'm feeling in that mood, I don't really want to be like lifted out of it with a happy, friendly deck. I like to be met by my decks where I am, and then I can connect with that part, connect with those emotions, and work through them and not kind of try and banish them away as bad. So, love this deck. Oh, and the more I look at it, the less I want to get rid of it. So maybe this is one for the table. I've kind of been feeling in that mood recently, like I've been experiencing lots of icky feelings. It's been, I'm training at the moment to become a transpersonal counsellor, or integrative counsellor really, and it's a very demanding course emotionally. You know, you're asked to look at difficult topics and difficult parts of your own story, and oh, Seven of Swords. Oh, we just looked at that, didn't we? There's something to say to me about what I'm trying to get away with. I'm trying to run away from the feelings of ickiness. Feels like a warning against it. So yeah, so, you know, I'm feeling a lot of this as I'm like going through all of the tricky parts of the counselling programme, and maybe this will be a good one to work with. Okay, I'm going to give this another lease of life. Try and pick it up, try and use it, see if I feel inspired, and I will say, if I don't feel inspired in the next 2 weeks, it's going. And I will put it up, probably on my shop, and I'm thinking about adding like a seconds category where any of the decks that I don't use and don't want anymore can go up there. So, okay, you're going over here in a on my desk, on my reading table, to use or to lose. Okay, here's the other two. Same deck but different. We've got the, actually I'll start with the brown one since we're already in the brown. If you don't know, this deck comes in a variety of different colours, some of which are in print, some of which are out of print. This is sort of the original Trionfi della Luna paradoxical. There's also a non-paradoxical version which looks more like a standard Marseilles deck, and the paradoxical is like the colours are inverted, so everything looks like it's at night time. It's kind of has the sort of like underworld vibe. This is the Marseilles. So it's like the original, the illustrated pips came later. It's such a good Marseilles. I feel much more inspired to pick this one up because it has these little details in it. So you'll see here you've got like, I hope it'll focus, like a little eye in the centre of the card and these little faces here. You've got the kind of spiky stalks. Here we've got the rose in the centre with the drop of blood coming down. We've got the moon and the star here, you know, just little things that might offer, yeah, a little orientation to the card, so you're not just going on geometry and shape, but there's also, yeah, I don't know, little clues, and some of them seem to almost hint to the Smith weight. There's just a little bit more to go on than a standard Marseille, and yeah, it feels like, also like there's a realm that I'm entering when I open and I use this deck. The standard Marseille feels quite like a blank slate. It also feels a bit like it throws you back to the 1600s or whenever they were produced, first designed. This takes me to a very different place. As I said, it's this kind of underworld where everyone's a little shady looking, a little weird, and yeah, it tickles something inside me in a way that I like tarot decks to do. So that was the Patrick Valenza's Trionfi della Luna Paradoxical brown edition, and this is the blue edition, which has very different vibes to me. Here we go, same sort of, almost same coloured backs. Here is the blue, and this is just really different energy. Instead of being the like yucky, icky parts of me that kind of have that like underground sewer energy, to me this is much more like BFG, when everybody's gone to sleep, the little creatures that come out to play, but they're kind of mischievous, and it has a much quieter energy. I also think the colour combinations are beautiful, the blues and purples. Again, this is the Marseille. Here you can see you've got a sword with some wings. Again, like a little hint, something for you to go on for the reading. Yeah, it just has a much different energy. It's kind of, yeah, something like what goes bump in the night, like something a little unsettling, a little unusual, things that you might hide, but not because you feel kind of gross about them, but rather, something a little cheeky and mischievous, running around the town at night creating havoc. I don't know if that made any sense whatsoever, but that's how I feel about the deck. So, Trionfi della Luna Paradoxical Blue. Those two decks I will not be getting rid of. I'm just not using them at the moment. I don't know whether to try and like encourage myself to use these Marseille decks I'm not using, or just wait until my Marseille season comes back around again. Yeah, so far my inspirational axe is not really going particularly well. I feel we'll pick up from here. It's a very different set of decks next, that I think, I feel reluctant to get rid of the Marseille because I had such a strong Marseille moment, and I feel that I would like to have Marseille decks around, at least one or two. So the Tarot de Rivieres and the Trionfi della Luna. And I can't pick between the two because they have such different vibes. So I keep both. Yeah. But then that's like more or less it. I do have one other Marseille deck, which is the Game Marseille, which I use mostly for reading for others because I just think it's a fantastic Marseille. It's like, to me, it's my favourite. So it's not that it's not coming in the don't know what to do with pile. At the moment I just seem to be talking myself into keeping most of these decks, but here we go. Okay, next pile. This is Tower of Aphroditi by Natasha From. Guys, I think it's going. I have clung on to this deck in the hopes of lovely beautiful, beautifully produced pink edging. Not sure if you'll be able to see it in the light, but yeah, it's a found art deck. It's very well done, very Aphrodite. If you work with Aphrodite, it's a wonderful deck, but I'm just left cold. And I think I really want found art decks. Like, I think they're so beautiful. I've been tempted by many others, but I think that this artwork, I don't know, it just feels really cold to me as soon as I started trying to read with this deck. Like, I was getting the cards that felt relevant. Oh gosh, it's very difficult for me to see whether or not these cards are focusing. Let's say fingers crossed. I'll hold them a bit further away. Yeah, I was getting the cards that felt appropriate for the questions I'd asked, but it was just doing nothing for me. Like, I felt very, very uninspired. Even though there's some really, like, oh, I absolutely love that painting, would love it on my wall, but it just doesn't work for me as a deck. So I think I'm just going to accept that it's time to get rid of this. There will be somebody else who will love this deck, who will feel things when they see the artwork, who will love the soft pink borders. I do love the soft pink borders. It's really yeah, it really taps into the sort of feminine aspect of myself. But it's not for me. I've tried. I've used it many times in an attempt to, as in I've not used it a lot, I've come back to it many times trying to figure out how to use it and why, what I can use it for, what kind of readings, should I keep it, should I get rid of it, and I've asked the deck many times these questions, and I've clung on to it, but it's time to go. Tower of Aphrodite. Goodbye. That was an axe. No inspiration needed there. The next deck I have on the list is Tower of the She by Emily Carding. Another one I want, but I just think I don't really connect with the artwork. And maybe I would if it was on different cardstock. I do feel like cardstock matters. It's part of the reason I love indie decks. There's something about it that, yeah, feels very mass produced. It is mass produced. Yeah, the glossiness, the sort of plasticky feeling. Yeah, I don't know. The artwork is incredible, like really, really amazing. And honestly, this deck is, Dreamer 3 Soul Loss, like that is such a powerful, powerful piece of artwork. The keywords are amazing. They're unusual, they're expansive, they do exactly what I want from keywords. There's great little poems in the guidebook. I just don't use it. Why? I've got other decks maybe that do something similar. I tried even using it with the Old Ways Magic Oracle because it has similar kind of Celtic-y slightly creepy she fairy vibes, but it just didn't sit right. Like, so good. The artwork is so good. I really think maybe if this was produced differently, I would feel different. But then there's also I really like Well, I don't know. Some of the cards feel a little creepy, like the really pale ones. I really love the rich coloured cards, and then the paler ones feel more tricky. But again, another absolute killer card. Illusion's Depths. Like, there is nothing wrong with this deck in terms of the artwork and the keywords, etc. It also works really, really well in spreads because there are different, I absolutely love this card as well, there are different things that like echo across cards. So especially if you use reversals, you might see like repeated patterns across your cards, colour synchronicities, shape synchronicities, so it's a fantastic reader as well. Help! Somebody tell me how I can use this deck. If there's a way. I really don't want to let it go now, looking at it again. I just think it's a fantastic piece of work. It's in every way. Maybe it's just the cardstock that bothers me. And I do not have the skills to upload and photograph and upload and print another version on different cardstock. So, any suggestions about how I can use this deck? So good. And I'm really trying to connect more with my kind of Celtic roots and ancestry at the moment, and this feels like it would be a really good deck to support that work. I want to use it with the Old Ways Magic Oracle. Maybe I just need to persist a little bit. Okay, inspiration. Let's take it out of this box as well. I don't know why, I hate white boxes. I just feel they're ugly. There are several decks that come in white boxes that I like end up not using the cards because of the box, which is daft. So, goodbye white box. Let's find I know I've got a bag around here somewhere, a black one that would be perfect for this, so it's going in a bag. It's sitting on the shelf with the Old Ways Magic Oracle, which I'm using a lot at the moment, so I'm just going to pull it out with it, play, and see if I can. Will it fit inside with the Old Ways Magic Oracle? Got like backs that match each other. It's yes, okay. Ugh. Feels weird putting two decks in the same bag, but for now we're gonna try, see what happens. Maybe the Tarot Gods will not be happy with me that I have put them both in this lovely bag with the mushroom on, but let's give it a try and see where we end up. As I said, I am using the Old Ways Magic Oracle a lot, so which, if you don't know it, just to show you the box, I'm not going to get the cards out, but this is the back, so quite similar to these ones, and yeah, it's by Naomi Cornock, an indie deck produced in the UK. Love it. So let's try, and I sort of forced by proximity to use that deck because walking through it is just an excellent deck. Okay, the next one on the list, the Embodied Healing Somatic Parts Oracle. Cannot remember the name of the creator. Perrin, I think. I believe she's a psychologist, but I would have to double check that. And the deck comes with a guidebook, but the guidebook is not like, it doesn't have card meanings in it. It has just kind of like exercises, somatic exercises, spreads, ways to use the cards. The deck is meant to be used completely intuitively. It doesn't have any keywords, doesn't have any guidebook descriptions. These are the backs, which, not my favourite. And I feel very conflicted about this deck. So this was actually sent to me as a gift from the creator, which I am hugely grateful for, like very, very kind of her. She wanted some feedback about the deck and how it reads. Honestly, I still haven't really used many of the exercises in the guidebook. It is an AI generated deck. I do not have any other AI generated decks. I don't feel good about AI use for creating artwork. It makes me feel a bit icky. A lot of things seem to be making me feel icky in this video. I find the art a little creepy. Gives me the ick. Some of them, especially the ones with people on. However, there are some cards that are great. Like, everything is quite weird, and if you're okay with that, like if you don't feel totally put off by the fact that it's generated by AI. It's a couple of years old now, so a little bit before the AI conversation took off, which is why it's not actually mentioned that it's AI in the guidebook. I did note that to the creator, and she said, yeah, that she created it kind of before all of the big conversation about AI happened. But yeah, like some of the, like, it is very evocative, you know, that is creepy as all hell. And the idea of the deck is that you're meant to pull a card and sit with it and feel how it feels in your body. It's meant to be a very somatic experience. My issue is that the somatic response that I have, I think, is primarily to do with feeling weird about the AI vibe of the artwork. It's also got the problem that AI still has, but had especially a year ago or 2 years ago, which is that the hands in this deck are absolutely wild. Some of them, see if I can find, have like extra, yeah, here we've got a hand with like, no, the other side, this side it's got like 5 fingers, a finger at the back there and a thumb over here, so we've got like 7 digits in total. Yeah, not sure what to do with it, guys. Any ideas? I mean, I will go to the guidebook before I pass it along. I will do my best to figure a way of working with it. I like the part of me likes the weirdness. I like this kind of spaceship vibes. It's got a really big range of quite evocative imagery. Like, you know, Jesus, that dude is. The first card pull I did, I asked, like, who's the deck, how does the deck see me, and how are we going to work together, and this is what I drew for the deck. So yeah, for sure, tech bro, AI, creepy energy. I love this card. I mean, yeah, there's some fantastically evocative imagery. But I don't think I don't know if I can get past the vibes. So if anybody is interested in the deck and thinks that they would get along with the kind of alien images, I mean, some of them have that great like 1950s butter advert or whatever energy. Yeah, let me know, and maybe I can, once I've tried working with it a little bit and given the creator a bit more feedback, maybe there's a home out there in the UK with somebody who really feels drawn to the somatic aspect of this deck. So embodied healing, I'm going to give it another go, but I'm also quite sure I'm going to pass it on once I've played with it a little bit. So I'm going to put it in the to-go pile. I do feel like it would be a really, if you're not weirded out by AI, I think it would be a really good deck. Even if you are and you want to like work through some of those feelings about, it would be a really good deck to keep for working out your feelings about AI and working out your feelings about where society is going, kind of slightly dystopian, yeah, place we're headed towards. Yeah, so Embodied Healing, Somatic Parts Oracle. Next, okay, now we're getting into tricky. Okay, no, the last one before we get into tricky territory is the Salmon Advice Volume 3 Oracle. It's so cute, but I don't use it. Oh, these are the backs. You know, because I don't know what I'm supposed to make of the message "Holy Camoli." Like, when do I use this? Help. How, like, I love it. I love the artwork. I love the fact that it's really cute and tiny. I love the cardstock. I like the fact that it's weird as hell. But I just can't figure out where to use it in my practice. When do I pull the card? It's twisted. Like, in what context? I even tried to make it work by writing on the cards, or apparently in a pen that smudges, to like give me a little bit more context. So this is the Fly Elephant card, and I said, what once was heavy now is light, which you can see that I've used a really shitty marker and it's smudged, but that was the idea. So I've like given it little phrases, bit its own tail I wrote, going around in circles, but I still can't figure out how to use it. It still doesn't. When would you use a deck like this? Because I really don't want to get rid of it. I also used to play with it with my partner in the evening. We would just like pull a card before bed as a little message to each other, with no expectation that it would make any sense at all. So there's a kind of also a little bit of like a sentimental attachment. So I think I'm going to struggle to get rid of this one. But if you have any ideas about how I can like practically incorporate it into my practice, would be super here for it. I'm thinking it would go well with something like the Playful Heart Tarot, but I don't quite know how. So let's put that in the hoping somebody might be giving me some inspiration for it pile. Not going to get rid of it. Can keep it. I've got, well, let's say I also have a kind of sentimental attachment pile. There's a couple more that are going to go in that pile, I think. Okay, next on the list, we'll go for the other two sentimental ones that I'm struggling to get rid of, but that I don't really use. This one is the Morning Calm Oracle. I guess my question about how to use the Salmon Advice Oracle extends to oracles in general. I want to use oracles, and I don't really know how. Tarot to me is like a language that I understand, and I can speak to myself through the language of tarot. Every archetype has like a really deep history. I can pull on like a huge variety of meanings for each of the 78 cards. Oracle decks, not so much. I struggle often to like pull associations, and so I've probably bought and got rid of a lot more oracle decks than I have tarot. This was probably the first oracle deck I ever had a good relationship with. It's one of the ones that I've used the most. Probably bought it about 3 years ago. I don't use it anymore. The kind of oracle decks that I tend to use are more like ritual ceremonial type oracle decks. So I use the Weaver's Oracle, I pull a card, it's the energy for me for that month or that week, or I pull it on my birthday. You know, it has a kind of ritualistic energy about it. I also use oracles like, what else do I have? The Wisdom of the Shadow and Wisdom of the Divine Feminine. which are very psychological. It's immediately clear to me that there's a kind of like a psychological aspect of myself that I'm being asked to look at. So then I might pull one of those cards and then a few tarot underneath to like tell me the story about why, you know, it has a lot of feelings like rage or fierceness or grief or loss, or, and I can work with that with tarot. This, I always find oracle decks just kind of random. That's also the Always Magic Oracle that I'm using. I'm using because I'm trying to get more in connection with nature, and it follows the wheel of the year, and I can pull a card and sit with the energy of that season, that kind of aspect of nature. Yeah, a lot of oracle card decks I'm just like, seems like quite a random collection of words. And I love the artwork. I love many of the words, but I just don't know how to use it. This to me feels like quite an ancestral deck. One that I might use to connect with kind of wise, old, ancestral energy. But at the moment I'm keeping it just purely for sentimental reasons. Again, ideas welcome for like, how do you use oracle decks like this, that's just sort of a collection of words like shaman, burn it down, divine love, balance, boundaries, divine timing. You know, it's kind of, I'm not sure what the thread is. And I find that with lots and lots of oracle decks, and even ones that I think do a really good job and are very comprehensive, I still struggle to pick up. Like the Poesis Oracle is one that for me has like a really good range of keywords. I've actually got, where is it there? So it's also on this list. So this is like going on the sentimental list with the Salmon Advice Oracle, keeping it like small, you know, number of decks that I'm keeping for sentimental reasons. But I don't know how to use it. So I would love to use it, but I struggle. The Poesis Oracle, another one that I just don't use, even though I think for me it's the best oracle deck I've come across. The keywords are expansive, there's a ton of cards. They seem somehow that for this deck, it seems, maybe it's because it's a little bit more psychologically oriented. The keywords really work for me. But again, I just don't find it as deep as tarot. I love tarot with keywords. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I love the Outgrow Yourself Oracle, I love the Story Medicine Tarot, Animal Woman. Trying to think what other ones have got keywords. Shelley Corbett's Abyssal Tarot. You know, there's a lot of decks that have keywords that I love. But yeah, here, like I get Rage, I'm like, ooh, yeah, great card, great keyword, maybe it exactly matches my energy, but then that's kind of the end of the story. Yeah, maybe that's it. I struggle to tell a story with oracle cards. With tarot, it feels like there's an invitation to pull 3 cards and thread them together, look at the tensions between them, and yeah, tell a kind of story with 3 cards. With oracles, I find it harder to like tell a story. Like maybe it can offer an overarching theme, but again, that feels quite shallow. And maybe I could tell a story with 3 cards from this deck, but yeah, just feel like I'm missing the depth. Perhaps it's if I had the time and the effort and the energy, I think creating like a guidebook of my own with this deck where I can add my associations, maybe even tarot associations with some of the cards, don't know how many there are in this deck, but 77, yeah, so more or less a full tarot deck. And yeah, perhaps I would have, like, I could deepen my relationship. I feel like oracle decks require work in order to really develop a deeper connection, but also I guess the imagery of this oracle is quite sparse, so there's maybe only so many places I can go with this earth card, whereas an oracle like the Old Ways Magic Oracle, there's a lot in the imagery, so maybe there's more places to go with it. I don't know. I love it. It visually really up my alley. Really like the artwork. I like the fact that it's black and white, which is a contradiction because I think I generally love very colourful cards, but for me it feels, yeah, simple in a very good way. So, Poesis Oracle, inspiration. What am I gonna do with this? Because I think it needs to earn its keep. To pair it up with something so that anytime I pull that, I pull this, but then I'm not really sure what to pair it up with. Maybe I start a very slow project of creating a guidebook for it, and I just say every time I pull a card I write down some associations. I think that would help. Yeah. Okay. It's such a big deck. It feels like an enormous project to do that, but I do think it would help a lot. Maybe I need to get the guidebook. Maybe that's what it needs, because I don't like getting my phone out and going on my phone whilst I'm reading. Prefer to have a little bit of a tech-free zone, so perhaps what I need is actually to buy the hardcover guidebook and then read the poetry that goes with it, because that might offer me a little bit more inspiration. I realise I'm cuddling a lot of my cards today. I think it's because I do feel attached to some of these decks. I definitely like this deck. I don't want to get rid of it. For me, it is my oracle of choice. In terms of like not a ritualistic oracle, but an oracle that could function along with tarot decks. I think that's the category that I struggle with, is the kinds of oracles that you like pair with a tarot deck. It's just never been part of my practice, and I tried for a long time to find an oracle that I could use with tarot. And I realised that I just wanted to use tarot. So this is the kind of one deck in that category that I allow myself, but I think I need the guidebook for it. That feels like an easier undertaking than trying to create my own guidebook. Yes. Okay, that's what we're going to do. There's the inspiration for this deck. Next, the Mother Tarot. Ah, guys. I love this deck and I never use it. I have had some really beautiful synchronicities. This is by Ren McMurdo Brignac, written and illustrated. It's a square deck. Here's the backs. I love the artwork. I love the queerness, the body diversity, colourfulness. I love the take on a lot of the cards. And there's a good chunk of this deck that I just don't understand the imagery for. And the guidebook doesn't really seem to help me very much. Especially the court card. Here we go. And I think it's a me problem. Yeah, we've got the King of Swords. First of all, I don't even know what I think. I think my partner said that's a stomach. But both. I don't know what to read from that as King of Swords, except for the fact that we've got like clouds in the background, so it's like air. But here again, like Four of Pentacles. Doesn't really hit the usual Four of Pentacles notes for me. Love that card. Page of Wands. as a flower with some bees. Sweet, but it's not doing too much for me. Queen of Pentacles. Love this Ace of Cups. That really makes sense to me. Nine of Wands. Woman with the creepy space night sky as a face. Yeah, it's probably about 50-50 in terms of cards that I get and cards I don't get. And the cards I get I love, and as I said, I've had some like really special moments with this deck, special synchronicities that also make this deck very hard to get rid of. But does anybody else struggle with this deck? Like, I love it. And sometimes I pull a card and I'm like, what? I love that. Two of Pentacles, adore the Four of Cups, sort of like melancholy, Five of Swords, burn it down. Yeah. Oh, it's a deck. It's like so almost a brilliant deck for me. I think if it wasn't for the fact that, which is a weird thing to say, but like if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't get half the cards, it's like exactly would be very, very high up on my list, because I love the art style, I love the people in the deck. But like, Page of Swords, what? Maybe like I'm really missing something here, but who that? And the guidebook I often find I can't really follow some of the meanings in as well. Like, let's have a look at that. Page of Swords. The page makes unsuccessful attempts to find answers by placing heavy emphasis on the worldview of others, or on the views of others. The Cat Queen's posse is at once comforted and chained by their Highness's familiar critique and aggrandized view of herself. They have not yet learned to think or properly care for themselves. Censor your consideration of the words of those around you. Save for the good friends you can level with. Take permission to show certain folks the door. Okay, I sort of get that, but kind of an out there representation. Like, I feel like she's the main character here. I thought she was the Page of Swords, but it seems like maybe the pages are the cats and we're looking up to this spicy queen. Yeah, just it doesn't feel very intuitive to me. Guys, I can't do it. I can't. I'm doing so badly. I can't get rid of it. Ah. Okay, this is another call for help. Or just your views. I would love to hear. I feel like a lot of people have this deck. And a lot of people love it. I've seen, yeah, I see it all over the place. And I'd like to know how you use it. What you think. Are there cards that feel like kind of random or unfamiliar, or like unintuitive to you? Or do you just get the whole deck and I'm the one missing a couple of brain cells? So it's going in the sentimental pile for now. Next, we have the Wild Unknown by Kim Kranz. This is a deck that I keep purely because of the guidebook. The guidebook is so good. And also, I think I might use it in a workshop that I'm running at the end of November with Juliet Nosk, one of my friends. We're doing a full day working with archetypes, and I feel like this would be a great deck to get people to pull an archetype from and work with. We're helping, or getting people to like embody the archetype, so they're not just kind of ideas in the head, but something that we like bring down into the body, trying to find archetypes that feel resourcing and empowering, like an energy that you want to work with in your day-to-day life. I'll be doing lots of exercises, a drum journey, cacao ceremony, all sorts of goodies. So if you're interested, drop a comment and I can share in fact I'll just share the link to the Eventbrite in the description box. It is in Godalming, which is about 40 minutes outside of London. Yeah, I don't get much from the deck, let's say that. The artwork, as beautiful as it is, it doesn't kind of spark a particularly emotional response in me, and that's usually what I look for in decks. The guidebook, however, is an absolute cracker. She has done so much research. There is so much wisdom packed into the guidebook. And so I don't use this deck because the roundness. Some people love round decks. It's fine, but it's a bit annoying. I can't shuffle it in the way that I like shuffling, and for me the shuffle is kind of part of the ritual of tarot. But that on its own wouldn't bother me too much, but yeah, like, I don't pick the deck up even though it has an absolute shite ton of wisdom in it, just because I don't feel drawn to the art. I also botched the edging. I started edging it in silver and then I regretted it, so I edged the rest in black, but now I don't know, kind of matches the backs, but I just think it's a bit ugly. So all in all, the deck itself, it puts me off using it, and then I miss out on the wisdom of the guidebook. So this I keep for work purposes, for the workshop, and yeah, I think it's one I just wish the deck was a little bit different. Maybe I just need to get over that and use it. I feel I have so many decks. I know that compared to a lot of collectors and people whose job is tarot and who are super into tarot like I am, for them my collection is very small, but I feel really overwhelmed when I have decks that I don't use, and I just can't use that many decks. I really struggle to keep in rotation more than 20 decks. So keeping it, maybe one that I'm going to force myself to use. I've got a handful here that are in the kind of use it or lose it pile, and I'm going to leave them out on my altar in the hopes that I will feel inspired to pick them up and maybe bring them back into rotation. But then I know that there are other decks I will end up not using because of that, so there we go. Such is life. Oh, I'm sitting on a yoga block, which is why I keep like wobbling side to side. Here we have, do you know what? I've got one other deck that I forgot about. It's over here. Here we go. My first ever proper tarot deck. I did buy one before this that I passed along. Actually, I gave it to my partner, I think, who then lost it on a train. This was the first deck I ever really like. It's a deck I learned tarot on, and it is so sweet and so lovely, and I'm just kind of past it in terms of there's other decks that I love and use. This kind of feels like teenage or young me. It's the Dreamy Moons Tarot by Annie Tarasova, and it's a Smith-Waite clone. It's lovely, it's sweet. It was great to learn on because it followed the tarot archetypes, you know, the traditional Smith-Waite version of the deck, enough for me to learn, but also was sufficiently different in terms of you know, like we've got the Hierophant is like Annie's own take on that, and I liked that, and I liked the visual of it. The black and gold is very up my alley. I think now it kind of feels a little sweet and young for me, but I won't be getting rid of it because sentimental value, first ever tarot deck. It's warped to all heck because I have left it in the sun. Actually, I don't know if you can really see the warping very well, but yeah, like I've taken it around a lot with me. It's more or less the only deck I used for the first 6 months to a year that I read tarot. Had, you know, really important synchronicities and powerful readings with it. It showed me what tarot can do and can be, and for that I am very, very grateful. Yeah, I feel very heartwarm about this deck. It's like a young deck for my young tarot reading self, and that is Dreamy Moons Tarot by Annie Tarasova. A lovely reminder of the beginning of my tarot journey, one that will stay on my shelf for a very long time, but don't think I'll pull it out to read anytime soon. But who knows, maybe I'll be feeling nostalgic or inspired. Okay, and we're almost there, folks. The last two, three. Let's go three. These two, the Red Seeds Oracles by Linda Hill. Another kind of deck I'd love to figure out how to use. These are, for anybody who doesn't know, goddess cards. We have on the front obviously a beautiful piece of artwork by Linda Hill. Her artwork is so gorgeous. A key phrase, I am darkness, and on the back we have, so it doesn't have backs, there's like the image and then all the text that you need. There's no guidebook. With the name of the goddess, a kind of bit of text about either the goddess's story or her characteristics or whatever. There's a quote in the top right. Depending on which of, there's three of these decks, I have two of them, and depending on which deck you have, the quote comes from a different person. I think for the Red Seeds number 2, which is the one I've got open now, it's all from Sappho. I don't remember who does the quotes for the first one. I think it might be more of a mix. But yeah, so we've got a quote in the top right, and then at the bottom you have the challenge and the gift. So here, the challenge of Nyx is apprehension and the gift is enlightenment. It's great. There's goddesses from all sorts of pantheons. You know, there's like tons of cards. The phrases on the front are great. And I've got her red stone tarot, the one that's based on alchemy and Jung. I did once upon a time have her Red Seeds or tarot. Red Seeds tarot or red thread? No, I think it was the Red Seeds tarot. Don't quote me on that, I might have to look it up. See, Sheila Gig. Absolutely love Sheila Gig. She doesn't appear in very many goddess decks, I don't think, of the ones that I've seen online. It's great. I just don't use it. Again, it's kind of suffers with a similar fate to lots of the decks, like Poesis as well, where the artwork is gorgeous and it doesn't really evoke a kind of emotional response. It's like, here's an image of the woman, the archetype, the goddess, but I'm not kind of getting a immediate emotional hit from it, which makes it feel more like a heady deck again. you know, I have to read the story and think about the archetype and the story. And the same goes for Linda's Redstone Tarot, you know, it's for me, it's a study deck. It's one that I still want to spend a lot of time with. I'm really interested in Jung and alchemy, but I'm interested kind of in an intellectual way. So I think, again, it's sitting in this kind of mental headspace where I need to go and research the myth of the goddess, and as I said, I use my practice really to ground myself, to feel and process my emotions, and this doesn't do it. So I feel tempted to get rid of these. I can't believe it, because I think everything Linda does is brilliant, but I'm just not picking them up. I just don't have the kind of immediate response that would drive me to pick this deck up. So, are we getting rid of these? Or am I keeping them in the hopes that I get a spur of inspiration to research goddesses and learn about the Red Threads Tarot and Redstone Tarot? Do I put them in the research? Maybe I put them in the research category, because I've got a couple of study decks. Like the Marielle is a study deck, and when I say study deck, probably what I mean is like decks that I don't use yet, that I feel I want to dedicate a good amount of time to learning about, and like allowing me to like dive into the deeper layers of the deck, because I feel like on a superficial level I don't get much from them, but I know that there is so much depth, knowledge, research that's gone into creating the decks, and that I would love to be able to access one day. So I have like zero intention of getting rid of the Redstone Tarot or the Marielle, but I don't really use them right now, because I haven't had the headspace, especially with setting up and starting a shop. I haven't had the headspace to jump into them really. So I'll put these in the research category, and then let's say in 6 months, if I haven't, maybe I need to make a guidebook for this. This one does feel like it needs a guidebook, even though there is guidance on the back. I think I have to develop my own associations with each goddess, so that when I pull the card I'm like, oh yeah, like that's of course that Sheila gig, because that's evoking this for me. At the moment I'm like, I have quite a 2D relationship with the goddesses. So because I love the decks, because I love everything Linda Hill does, I'm going to keep them, and I'm going to put them in my study pile. I just hope that at some point I have the time and the energy to study them. And I'm not getting any more study decks, because I've already got now 3, if I count these as 1. 4, because I feel like the Weaver's Oracle as well is another study deck. It is one that I use more, and I feel I can use just by reading the guidebook, but it's one that I really feel there's a lot of layers of depth. It's one of my favourite decks of all time, and I want to know it better. I get a lot of value and like kind of good warm feeling in my belly when I know a deck really well. So, okay, study. And then I'm gonna out myself as a complete charlatan, and put on the decks I don't use very much. One of the decks that was in my top 10 last week. I think I like popped it in because I felt it sat in the same category as the Old Ways Magic Oracle. I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing, and it's probably why I ended up over budget in terms of numbers of decks. I said it was a top 10, and I think in the end I had like 13 decks on the list. So we'll call this like a kooky error, or a maybe also the fairies maybe do it, you know? Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle, last deck on the list of decks I don't really use and I don't know what to do with, and I need some inspiration or axe. Who am I kidding? Not gonna axe this deck. It is cheeky. The guidebook is absolutely packed full of wisdom I think it suffers from the fact that, again, I just don't have time to use all of the decks in my collection. And because, although the artwork is absolutely beautiful, again, I can't use it without the guidebook. I pull a card and I don't really know what I think. Like, I pull a card and then I immediately get the guidebook out. I don't really sit with it very much because I don't know what to think about that, you know? Like, kind of cheeky dude with a angel fairy on his head, and he's looking quite surprised by the whole situation. You know, like, beautiful, but honestly I can't even read the names of the titles often. So She of the something. So again, don't pick it up because I don't know what mood I'm supposed to be in to pick this up. It seems to be one that I just pick up completely at random. And maybe that's right, you know, maybe it's because that's when the fairies have a message for me. But I need to find a spot in my practice for this deck, because damn, the guidebook is good. Like, really cannot emphasize that enough. I'm sure everybody says it, but like, woo, it is packed full of wisdom. Hot takes, spicy takes, like, you know, sometimes the guidebook will, the deck will kick you up the ass. But it's just flipping wonderful. So, how can I get this into my practice? Perhaps I just need to be pulling a card a week, and let's like see what the Fae energy is for the week, and see if that way I can develop a little bit more of an active relationship with it. Get to know the cards a little bit better, really engage with the wisdom rather than just being like, yeah, I know this has a great guidebook because I've used this deck a few times and the guidebook is always amazing. But actually like create a kind of functional relationship with it. Yeah, I think these decks that I've been like shelving for a while, I just need to get out and I need to start prioritizing using them. See if I can develop a bit more of like an active relationship rather than a theoretical, like, I know this is a great deck, I know the guidebook is amazing, but I never use it. Actually use it, see if the spark develops, and if it does, then great. And I have a feeling with this one it will. It just is a question of me making sure I actually pick it up. So that's a commitment. Weekly, once a week, Fae energy, what's going on, what's in the ether. Yeah, looks good. Alright guys, I think that's everything. I keep looking around me because I'm just like, I'm surrounded by piles of decks right now. I'm at my altar. I don't know if you can see if I can move this smoothly. No, not really. I can't point it downwards. Okay, well, my altar is down there. And what we've got is a sentimental pile, ooh, which I'm throwing everywhere. Salmon Advice Oracle, Mother Tarot, Morning Calm Oracle, and Dreamy Moons Tarot. These are like the 4 decks that have, you know, been like historically important to me that I don't want to get rid of. Maybe those are ones that I like put away. And I say they're not going, but yeah, I love them. Then we've got, in the sort of functional but probably unlikely to use very often, Portrait de Paris, Tarot de Rivieres, and 2 French decks. My one Marseilles and my one playing card deck also probably can go away, unlikely to actually use them very often. And I can make the venture over to the drawer if I really want to. So we've got 6 decks to go away. Then, here's where it gets spicy. These are the decks that I'm just like not able to get rid of. and I'm going to leave out to see if I can actually get myself to pick them up. Trionfi della illustrated pips, working with my icky ick and yucky tummy feelings, you know. We're going to leave it out. Next time I'm feeling like that, in the next days, I will reach for this deck. The other two, Trionfi della Luna, to Marseilles, they could probably also go away. Not going to get rid of them for when I want, you know, to work with Marseilles, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to use these, but I'm definitely not getting rid of them. So they're also going in the drawer. Poesis, leaving out. Going to buy the guidebook. Going to work with this deck because it's so good. But alas, struggle to find a way to fit it into the practice. So, guidebook. Archetypes. Gonna make myself work with this deck as well because it's an amazing guidebook. It's got an incredible set of archetypes in it, and I'm also going to be using it in the workshop at the end of the month, so I probably need to refamiliarise myself. Okay, my phone just died, which despite it being plugged in, which I think is a sign that I really need to hurry up and finish this video. So the last decks are Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle, which is going on the altar to use weekly draw. See how we get on with that. And then we've got to-go pile. So Embodied, Healing Somatic Parts Oracle. We'll have a play, give some feedback to the creator, and then see if there's anybody else who the artwork resonates with more than me. Natasha Fromm's Tower of Aphroditi. Wish I could make it work. I can't. I need to not be tempted to buy any more found art decks because I just think they don't do it for me. If there's anybody out there who's interested in this deck, let me know, otherwise I'll put it up on the website. And then last one, I think this one is going. It just doesn't light me up. I don't use it. It's a very inexpensive deck. It's not like it's you know, a beautifully created indie deck that I couldn't get again. And I don't think I feel wedded enough to it to keep. So that's it. That's everything. All of the decks I don't use inspiration or axe. Let's give them a try. We've had a group that are going into the drawer, a group that are now out on the altar, ready to be used, and 3 that are going to be moving on. Yeah, thank you for staying with me whilst I go through this process. It helps to like talk it out, and yeah, I hope that this will make them feel a little bit more alive, that I can actually get some use out of them. And yeah, I would love to hear about your collections. What are the decks that like you really want to love but you just don't use? Do you have any of the decks that I've got? Do you have any tips? I think I said help like at least 4 times during this video, so if you have any ideas, any inspiration for me, would very gratefully receive. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao!